Welcome back to the More Smarter Show. This is episode 45. It is the #1 business, mindset, and strategy podcast in the world. I would even debate. Jake, what do we have on the agenda today?
Are you sure it's on episode 46? Anyway, David, nice to have you. David Nassief is our guest today. David's going to talk about late stage entrepreneurship. Later in his life, so David's an author, and later in his life, he had a little career shift or maybe even mindset shift that he's going to go into. David, before you go into that, I'm going to ask you a question that I think I will probably never ask again upon introducing someone. How old are you?
I'm 72.
72. So now, with that in mind, can you go into your story a bit?
Sure. When I was much younger, I was 63.
It's relevant to the story. Yeah, I'm not being nosy.
Anyways, what happened was I was 63. I'm 18 years with the same company, and I just got fired. And I tell you, I would not wish that day on anyone. What happened was I did the math, and if we had drained all of our savings and all of our retirement, we were scheduled to be broke by age 65. When most people are sitting back and saying, okay, I get to enjoy the fruits of my labor all my life, and we'd be, I don't know where we'd be, okay? But, as hard as that was, that meeting, the worst part was driving home, thinking, how am I going to tell my wife, Mary? We had been married for 30 years, and she did not deserve the mess I just threw her life into. So anyways, after a couple months of dead-end job search again, I'm telling you, my heart wasn't in it. I did not want to go back to the corporate world. But I had to. I mean, I had to put food on the table, keep a roof over our head. What was I going to do? I wasn't just going to go broke here and have nothing and be out in the street. So I was interviewing and all that, and it was going nowhere. And so I decided to take a huge risk. And I went to work as an independent sales agent on straight commission. No salary, no safety net, no benefits. First months were brutal. Cold calls, constant rejection, rookie mistakes. I heard more of no's than I can count in that period of time. But Jake and Dylan, the thing about that was I really believe all that resistance I was getting, all that rejection I was getting, that was necessary for me to build the mental muscles I needed to punch through that dark period of my life, because it was a dark period and I needed that strength and I needed that resistance. Anyways, 10 months later, I hit an incredible milestone. I was suddenly making more money than my good paying corporate salary. And for a moment, I thought, okay, we made it. But then I realized we didn't make nothing. I've been making good money for 40 years just about. And look where it got me. I says, I need to learn how to invest. I need to learn how to build wealth. And I didn't have time to waste on a bunch of theories and get rich quick schemes. And everyone's trying to pitch their stuff and make their money off you. And so I decided to dig in myself. I read 21 books on finance. I listened to 13 podcasts faithfully on investing and financing. I read countless blogs and newsletters. Every time I got a good idea, I put it on a piece of paper. I kept putting these ideas on my piece of paper. When the paper folded up, I says, no, I'm not going to go beyond one piece of paper because I want to keep it simple. So I took the worst idea off and put the better one on. I kept refining it until it was a real set it and forget it approach. Okay, 6 years later, I had an incredible milestone. I went from what I thought I was terrified of being broke to a 7-figure portfolio and real financial freedom. I now know it is never too late to rewrite your story, because if I can pull it off starting as late as 63, anybody can, I believe, with the right direction.
That was outstanding. I think you and Colonel Sanders are up in the same echelon here. But see, like, that is a story where you almost, I guess it's either like give up or you have to make, your back is literally up against the wall. So, I obviously plugging your book and the strategies that you have behind your book would be the reason why. But throughout those 6 years, from 63 to 69, where you went from zero to becoming a millionaire, what were you doing during that time? Was that the sales job, or was that the business that you started?
It was a combination, but let me tell you what inspired my simple one-page approach, because I think that will help a lot of your listeners, and then I can get into more details of what happened. About the time this was all happening to me, I heard this true story, and what it is that scientists at the Max Planck Institute did an experiment. What they did is they placed people in the center of a dense German forest, and they told them to walk in a straight line to the edge. Now, these were confident and capable people, but when the clouds covered the sun and the GPS tracking was showing, they were now suddenly starting to walk in a circular motion. Some of them were actually ending up right back where they began. But every one of them was convinced they were walking in a perfectly straight line. That is my life story for 40 years. I was working hard, making good money, thinking I was doing the right thing, and ultimately going in circles. And I said to myself, wait a minute. This is embarrassing, guys. Admitting you made good money for 40 years and you're on the cliff of a financial disaster. I says, I can't do this anymore. And that's when I said, I need a compass, not a compass of metal and steel like people have when they go on it. I need a one-page compass to get me on track. I'm the kind of person, I hate to admit this, I get distracted easy. A shiny object, a hot tip, and I'm off to the races in the other direction. I couldn't afford to do that anymore. I had a short runway. It was really more like a helicopter pad than a runway. I could not afford to make these mistakes anymore. And so that's where this one-page compass came in. And I says, it gave me that 30,000-foot view I needed to stay focused in the right direction. And once I got that, I was able to now be able to put my investing stuff in an autopilot kind of form so I could take time to focus on building my sales business, which was generating the money I could put in there to build the wealth. But here's what a lot of people forget. We're all business owners. They all think, oh, I'm smart with money. I'm making money and all that kind of thing. Yeah, but if you're not building wealth at the same time, it's a giant leak in your money machine that is just, it's going to end up, you're going to end up with, like me at 63, with nothing. And so please, I did not do this to become an author. I do this because I was saved in a terrible storm through the inspiration of this one-page compass. And I says, if I don't share this with people, it's just, that's selfish. I said, it's ridiculous. My company had a record year last year, more money than we've ever made in our life. I do not need to do this. This is not a financial thing. I'm not trying to make money off a book. The book's nothing. It doesn't cost hardly anything. I'm trying to say, hey, listen, guys, I don't want you in the same boat I was. I just feel like this is my way to give back a little bit to people.
So what was your career that you got fired from?
Oh, it was a corporate career. I was in training and sales type thing, but it wasn't like I wasn't actually doing sales. I was showing people how to do sales, and so it was very different. So when I went into straight commission sales, I went from a guaranteed salary, company car, tons of benefits. I even got to fly in the corporate jet every now and then, to nothing. To absolutely, I mean, no benefits, no other, straight commission. That was a different world for me. It wasn't the corporate safety blanket was gone, and there was nothing there.
Yeah. So it became less safe to the common man, and it propelled your life essentially, financially. Yeah,
it did. It's not, I needed it. Would you like me to tell you although that sounds like the darkest moment, would you like me to tell you the real darkest moment for me? Because it really wasn't that, but it was shortly after that.
What happened? Not getting fired? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, getting fired was pretty bad, but one day my wife, I've been sending my resume out, doing nothing. And she said, honey, I want to save some money. There's a big sale going on at the store. Can you come with me to help me with the groceries? I said, sure. I had nothing else to do, so I went. I get to the store, guys, and I know this wasn't probably true, but I felt like I was the only man in the store. All I could see is women and baby carts, babies crying, and I felt like, what am I doing here? I should be working. I should be providing for my family. I'm in this grocery store in the middle of a weekday, in the middle of a day, and I felt like I had a sign on my chest, the biggest loser. I mean, I really felt that way. And when my wife was checking out, I just wanted to scream. I wanted to break loose. I felt like it was in this mental corporate straitjacket, and I couldn't get out of it. And even if I got out of it, what was I going to do? And it was just like the most helpless feeling of my life at that moment. And that night, I realized when I went home, the corporate world told me I was of no value to them anymore. End of discussion. I needed to face that fact. I needed to say, I need to try something different. I need to let the guy inside me hiding who was afraid to do anything out. We had to do this together. We had to make this thing work. And that's when I says, okay, no more hiding, no more image, no more worrying about what I look like or my title or anything like that. I'm in survival mode now. We need to make this work. My wife, my family's life is on the line here financially, and I cannot afford to hide anymore. And that's when I says, okay, no more fear, no more nothing. I'm going to just do this. I'm not going to say I wasn't afraid, but I wasn't going to let that be hold me back anymore at that point.
So I was at ShopRite an hour ago. So it's 10 a.m. on a Friday right now. So I was at ShopRite on a Friday morning at 9 a.m. And it's funny your story connects with you that way, because I think I was thinking to myself, I do a lot of thinking if you don't know me. And at ShopRite, I was like, it's so cool that I could be here at 9 a.m. on a Friday because I have the flexibility in my schedule to not be with the pack that goes on Sunday and to get the good steaks on Friday mornings.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We see it differently, but I feel you on your story because I was also a teacher and I left that world. And for me, it was like parking in that same parking spot every day.
Yeah.
And I was like, that bothered me so much. Like every day it hurt a little more, just a centimeter more. It was a little pinch, but like days and days, 8 years of teaching, it really, really bothered me towards the end. And a week after I resigned, they hired someone for my role that went to the same college as me, same age as me, looks like me. And, and that's, I mean, good for them. But, you know, like I like, you know, I'm
how easily
I'm
replaceable. Yeah.
Well, Jake, you make an important point, though, when you said that, you know, I looked at the grocery store seeing different than you did. When I looked at the grocery store, and I still had that corporate straitjacket on, that I had an image to uphold. I was defined by a certain way. Now I go to a grocery store in the middle of the day. It's a wonderful thing. I mean, like I'm free to, but no, but I was
Love that.
trapped back then, and I needed a break mentally. And that was the first, I would say, when I hit rock bottom, that was the first thing I did. I had to shed that mental image that was holding me back, and that was a big step for me.
Totally. And it's so cool because obviously I'm at a different point in my life. I'm 23. A lot of my friends went to college and they're starting their work career, where now they see me, who I didn't go to college, and I was in that grind where I was in that period where all my friends were having fun. I was working really hard. I was making no money. I didn't really see the results. But I got through that, obviously, and then we see the other end of it 4 years later. Where I see it, and I question, do you think that you would have had that passion burning inside of you if you didn't get fired?
I think I needed to get fired. I think I didn't have I knew 8 years before I got fired. I was with the company for 18 years. I knew 8 years before I should have quit. But when you're in your 50s and you're making really good money, and there's not a lot of people clamoring for a 50-year-old to come to work for them, that kind of thing, you just don't quit. And I didn't have the guts to quit. And I really believe that it was a gift. I should send them a gift basket and a thank you letter for fire. I really should, because
Do it.
I didn't have the guts to do it. I needed to be nudged out of the corporate nest. And I it's embarrassing to say that. I wish I could have said, "Oh, I got some courage. I said, you take that job and shove it. No, that wasn't me. I was like, I need the security. I need the safety." And it got to the point where when there was no other option, that's when I faced reality. I said, okay, I don't have another option. So I'm not going to crawl in a ball and just, go away. I'm going to fight.
Yeah, I had the same thinking. I quit when I was 30. I'm 33 now, so I quit teaching when I was 30. And Dylan and I are both full-time in real estate. And I was thinking, my problem was I liked teaching, and I liked the money and the summer off and the guaranteed income and getting off at 3:00. I liked everything about it. But I thought of myself in 20 years, and it's going to get difficult if I want to be an entrepreneur and I really want to, take control of my life. It's when it's uncomfortable is when it's the best time to do it, which was when I was 30.
Yeah. Can I say something that I think that might help some of your entrepreneurs listening? Because I'm here to tell you, there's another path you really need to get focused on, I think, or so you don't end up like me at 63, desperate. Let me just share with you. And it's about the actual one-page wealth compass, like what it did for me. I think it's important to understand that. Basically, I doubled my portfolio 3 times in a 6-year period. Now, people who follow stocks in the market, they go, that's not possible. The market didn't increase that much. You're either lying or delusional, whatever. Well, let me show you. I wasn't day trading or chasing crypto or trying to time the market. I was doing the opposite of that. I was doing something so boring it would put you to sleep. What had happened is I used an investment approach. And the crazy thing is, when the market was down, I was thrilled. When other people were panicking and selling, I was buying more shares at discount prices. My only regret was the market wasn't down more during that 6-year period, because I'd even done better than I did. Okay, but the thing that surprised me was the math. What it is, there's a thing called the rule of 72 in investing, and what it says is basically if you're getting, say, a 10% return on your money will double every 7.2 years, or roughly every 86 months. Once I got my one-page compass in place and the simplicity and the set it and forget it approach, my first double of my portfolio occurred just in 30 months. Second one, 13 months, third one 29 months, for an average of 24 months, way less than half the expected 86-month time period. But the secret wasn't the returns. I finally figured out how to do three things I wasn't doing for 40 years. The first thing was I was saving a percentage of my income right off the top, okay, before I did anything else that came off the top. Secondly, I was putting that money in the right kind of investments, okay? And what I found out what the right kind of investments were was low-cost index funds. I only own two of them. It's so incredibly simple. It's just, people think it's a joke. It's so easy. Here's the
Which
two
two?
I own.
Yeah,
That's what I was going to tell you.
two?
Okay, two. One of them is I own the entire U.S. market. Okay, I happen to be with Vanguard. There's other companies out there just as good. VTI is what I own, but it's not. I'm not saying, oh, you got to go buy VTI. It's anything that owns the entire U.S. market. Okay, and so I own every publicly traded stock in the U.S. The other stock, the other one I own is index fund, is total non-U.S. market. So I own every publicly traded stock outside the United States. So listen, Dylan and Jake, what I own is I own literally every publicly traded stock on the planet. For me to go broke to zero, the entire world economic system would have to collapse to nothing. And if that happens, we have bigger problems than money, okay? So I can sleep really good at night. When I don't worry about the headlines. I don't worry about, company going under or whatever. Yeah, I own that company, but so what? I own thousands of other companies too, and just one little blip on the radar. And so that's what really made a difference for me. And the third thing I did was I used market volatility to work for me instead of against me. Too many people invest with their emotions. That's why they buy high and sell low, which I did for 40 years. Okay. Once I understood it, once I had the simplicity of a compass to guide me, all of a sudden things changed big time. And I ended that cycle. So many people, they go to the department store, see a sign, 50% off. Do you go up and say to the clerk, hey, I don't want no 50% off. I want to pay full retail for that thing. When's it going back up to the regular price? No one does that. They'd be stupid. But yet they do it with the stock market all the time. The market drops 50%. Oh, it's panic. Get out of the market. Turn to cash. No, that's when you want to be buying. For 200 years, every time the market has gone down, it has not only fully recovered, it's went on to reach new heights. 200 years of history is enough data for me to sleep well at night and feel comfortable with the approach I'm doing.
David, before we get into what you just said, you're 72 and you have more energy than like half the people I know. So I freaking love that. And I think it's the resurgence of the entrepreneurship that you have inside of you. And it's sweet. It's awesome to see. This is so interesting to me because we're in such opposite kind of, I guess, situations. And I've lived my life anti what you're saying. Right?
Okay.
I worked in real estate for 3 years since I was 20, really hard. I took all the commission that I made as a realtor and I put it into a very rundown multifamily.
Okay.
And now I'm still in the middle of renovations, but I'm renting it out. And I have a little bit of investments in mutual funds, but I don't have the majority of my net worth is back in real estate or my business. What do you say to the people at different phases in their life? Would you always recommend the mutual fund route, or would you say, hey, take big risk when you're young?
Yeah, definitely you could take bigger risks when you're young, no question about it, because you have time to recover, obviously. But I would just say, don't stop doing what you're doing, Dylan. I'm not against real estate at all. I that's not my path, but I know a lot of people who make a lot of money in real estate, and you'd be fool to say, oh, that's a bad thing. I mean, that's a great thing. Okay, I'm just saying, why not do both? Just listen to this for 1 second here. Okay, my portfolio doubled 3 times in a 6-year period. My last double put me in that millionaire status, but I didn't tell you, I had a double after that one, which took 28 months. That was a 7-figure double. Okay, I'm working on my next double right now, which I forecast will take another about 24 to 28 months. That's going to be a 7-figure double. I mean, even in real estate, I know real estate is really good, but that's pretty good when in 24 months, you can have 7-figure doubles that are significantly more. This is why I'm passionate about this. I'm saying, keep doing the real estate, but why ignore this? I mean, why not have 2 paths to millionaire status? And if one doesn't work out, well, you got the other one. You don't have all your eggs in one basket. That's all I'm saying here. Does that make sense?
Especially Dylan, because I have mostly real estate, but I have a little bit of VTI and all the other funds as well.
Yeah.
And Dylan, the reason I have that is because it offsets my taxes. So yeah, solo 401k is what it's called as as entrepreneurs or as self-employed, and so that allows me to have both.
Yep. And one thing I want to mention, Jay, because that's a really smart thing you're doing, okay? But one more thing I'd like to suggest you do with any extra money you have is get into a Roth IRA too, because the beauty of a Roth IRA, it is tax-free. Picture this, when you guys are in your 20s and 30s, like you guys are right now, picture 30 years from now, that money will be millions, but it's worth more than millions because you're withdrawing all of it tax-free. Oh my gosh, that's like doubling, not doubling, but it's like giving yourself a 50% increase in your net worth by that. So definitely 401k, I agree with you 100%, but also don't forget the Roth, because that's a nice little added bonus that the government's giving us, and I'm take full advantage of that, believe me.
What would you say to someone who says, well, you had the best 9-year run that the economy has had, so you got lucky?
I'd say you're a fool. I says, I wish it was worse. One time, I would say there was a whole year during that period where the market was down. I was pouring money into the market like crazy. I never put so much money in the market that year. I was talking to my brother, who's also an investor, and I was saying, I can't believe it. I've put over 6 figures in the market, and I have less money now than I had in the beginning of the year. Isn't that great? I said, this is wonderful. I'm getting such deals because you know what? When the next year, when the market recovered, my recovery grew exponentially. I mean, it was like I was all there just sitting, ready to explode because I was bought it at such cheap fares. So to answer your question, Jake, I'd say whoever says that is an idiot. They should be, when you guys are your age, you should be praying for the market to do bad. You should be praying for it to do bad because you don't need the money. It's going to, when you're in your 60s or 70s, whenever you retire, you're going to get it. But right now, you don't need the money. You want dirt cheap stuff. That's what I'm saying. That's what I would say to them. So,
What are your thoughts on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies?
I don't do it because I don't have time. I'm running an agency. Last year was our most profitable year. I'm making more money in the agency than I've ever made in my life, times 5 or 6 factor. And I don't have time to worry about, stress about, the only reason I watch the morning financial news, the cable news, for entertainment purposes. I would never take advice from those people. Their whole mission is ratings. That's what, and they love panic because when you're panicked, oh, I got to watch the show because, I would never take advice. I told my wife once, the market was crashing one day and this guy was doom and gloom, and I'm laughing. My wife says, honey, why are you laughing? That's serious. We have money in the market. And I go, he don't know what he's talking. His guess is as good as anybody else. Half the time he's going to be wrong. I love Warren Buffett's quote. He says this, tell you a lot about the forecaster, but nothing about the market. That is so true. These guys, they don't know. They're just half the time they're wrong, half the time they're right. I don't want to be stressed about Bitcoin. I don't want to be stressed about anything else. I got my money where it's really growing really nice and it's very safe. It's so diversified. And when the Bitcoin crashes or one big company goes under, it doesn't bother. I sleep so good at night. I'm not saying
I say the exact same things as you, but for real estate.
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't care what anyone says about the tariffs, the war, the governor. Yeah. It doesn't, go ahead and talk about it. I don't give a shit. And I'm going to keep buying single family rentals, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think that only, I heard this quote from I think Dave Ramsey, and he was saying that it's like, if you have a pie chart of your mind and your knowledge, that should be the exact same pie chart of your investments. So for Jake and I, our minds are real estate. For you, it's the market, stock market, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. But I think that diversification is good. Like, I own some real estate. Okay, not investing real estate, but our home and things, that kind of thing. You guys own some stocks. I think it's good. I think to be diversified is important. It really is important to do that. And so that's why I say don't ignore the other one. Just
Agreed.
Totally.
So let's get into your agency a little bit more. What do you got going on there?
It's boring. You guys will want to talk about it. Basically, I am in a very niche. I guess insurance is the best way to explain it. B2B, it's very, very hard to get into. I mean, it's extremely hard to get into. Those first 10 months were absolutely miserable. Like I told you, breaking into this market is not for the casual observer. I mean, the turnover is ridiculous, but it's a machine for me to feed my investment machine. This is what it is, and it works wonderfully for me, and I'm just grateful for that blessing that I found that.
So that is super boring. So you're right. So let's actually talk about your one-page wealth compass.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do this to you guys, to your listeners for free. I'll just show it to you right now. The secrets, like I say, I'm here to help people. I'm not pitching nothing. Basically, this is what it is. And what it is on the one side, it has the 9 trail markers. This is good for anybody. Even if you're a real estate investor, this is good for anybody. It gives you the path from where you are to financial freedom. Because isn't that what we're all looking for? Financial freedom, whether we do it through real estate, whether we do it with Bitcoin, whether we do it for, whatever it is. And it just shows you. And then each point on the chart tells you where you're at. Like some people might say, well, David, I'm great on the income and I'm great on this, but I've got some debt here. I got a lot of consumer debt, credit card debt. Now, I'm not against real estate debt, guys, okay, but I am against credit card debt. I am against debt that doesn't give you a return on your money. It's just to make other people rich by paying interest to them. Okay, I'm really against that. Okay, but credit card, investment, that's different. Okay, wealth accumulation. So whatever step you're on, that's the steps. Okay, the other side is the 5 North Star principles. This keeps you safe. For example, this first one is live on less than you earn. If people don't figure that out, you can forget about every book. You can forget about every strategy. You're going to be in I will tell you, if you'd like today, about people who are making $10 million a year, and the majority of them are retiring broke. Okay, and that's real. That's not a game, and I have stats and statistics to show you. So I'm telling you, because they didn't learn this first one, live on less than you earn. That's a key principle. And what's neat about this compass is too, every point of the compass has a reference. You say, David, but I want to get out of debt, or I want to do my pre-fund, or I want to do whatever it is. Can you give me more details than just this? Well, that's where the book comes in, basically. Okay, this is the ground game. Okay, this tells people, the 30,000-foot view. This tells them turn right here, turn left here. Like we talk about the Roth 401k and the IRAs and things like that. And it gives you more details because some people, you need details too, that kind of thing. That makes sense.
Yeah. And, who is this person that you're kind of like, who's like your target audience for
my target audience is from they start their career 23, 24, because that's the best time to get it if you can. Your age is perfect to start, okay, to 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds, because it's never too late. Okay, I'm not saying everyone's going to make $1 million and be a millionaire in 6 years, but you know what? You can improve yourself a lot. And what if it took you 10 years or 12 years? Would that be that bad, to accomplish it that way? No, it wouldn't be that bad at all. So I'm just saying everyone's going to be different. Everyone's going to have different levels of income to pump in. But let me go on this whole thing now, because I know a lot of people on TikTok and all the social medias, they're all about this, make big money and flash it around, that kind of thing. Let me just share with you the danger of saying, I don't make enough money. If I made as much money as David and Dylan and Jake, I could invest money. But David, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I'm trying to get this company going off the ground, and I don't have the kind of money that you guys talk about to invest and all that kind of thing. I wish I had that luxury. Well, let me share with you why that's a lie. The NBA, the National Basketball Association, the average player on the NBA makes over $10 million a year. I didn't say in their lifetime. I said in 1 year. And yet, after 5 years of retirement, 60% of them are broke, according to the Netflix documentary Broke. And the NFL is worse. After 2 years of retirement, 78% of them are broke. Now compare that to Dale Schroeder, a basketball-loving carpenter who made average to below average income his entire career. Yet he lived on less than he earned. He followed that one principle, and he invested wisely the difference. He ended up with a $3 million portfolio. That's more than most of the NBA and the NFL players making their tens of millions of dollars a year. So what I'm saying is, when I got the compass, I realized something important. Making money is different than building wealth. These basketball and football players, they are masters at making money. How many people do you know make over $10 million a year? That's not the common thing, okay? And yet most of them, not all of them, most of them are miserable at building wealth. Dale Schroeder, he gets an F at making money. Look, below average income most of his life, yet he was a master at building wealth. Two separate skills. Just because you're making the big money like I did for 40 years, thinking I was really smart with money, I was a fool with money. I was a fool with building wealth for 40 years.
So I like to think about that topic a lot, again, in real estate, but not as much investing for what I'm about to say. It's more because we're both realtors as well. Mm-hmm. So I think about that a lot. I think to myself, you know what? The more money of the house we sell, the bigger our commission is. So if we sell a $5 million house, we're going to make a lot more commission than a $500,000 house. Right. But in order for me to hang around $5 million people, I need to join a country club. I need to learn how to golf. I need to probably massage their backs, so I'm wearing this shirt, I've had this shirt for 20 years. That's just the type of guy I am. And I don't want to improve my expenses by improving my lifestyle. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's certain things you have to do. Like, I drive a decent car. I mean, it's, okay. I have clients. If I drove up an old beater, they'd say, "Well, okay, where's a successful guy I can deal with?" David, I really don't want to deal with you. So I don't mean like to flash people. I mean, I definitely, my competitors, every one of my competitors, every one of them has cars 3, 4, 5 times as expensive as mine. I mean, they're driving the top of the line Mercedes, Jaguars, Porsches. They know David gives great service. He has high integrity, and he's a successful guy. And he lives sort of conservatively, but we respect that with David. And he drives a decent car, but it's not I think people respect it when you don't have to show all the flash and all that kind of thing. They go, "I got a serious guy here who's going to do something for me." I mean, I want the serious people working for me, not the people on TikTok working for me who are pretending they're wealthy and they're standing in front of their fancy car, but it's not really their car. It's just when they stood in front of it, took a picture with you. I just don't think I think people respect people who are reasonable and prudent with their stewardship of their money, that kind of thing. So that's maybe just
and it's the people you hang around, right, Dylan?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're about to say that, like it's your tribe, right?
Yes, yeah. It is your tribe, but it's it's the perception of when you're meeting someone new, though. I do get that, where I drive a little bit of a beat up car. Jake has a little bit of a beat up car, but let's compare real estate portfolios then, or let's compare, if you're going to do that, then like if you're going to park right next to me and try and flex, pull out your bank account,
But it's because like our friends and the people we hang out with are like us. We're not surrounding ourselves, whereas NBA players are in the club and their teammates are spending money and buying cars. So that it's really about who you hang out with.
But look at what I talked about with the NBA. I said 60%, not 100% of them were broke. Okay, 40% of them were saying, "I'm not going to get caught up in that. I'm not buying my brother, my mother, my cousin a new house and buying the 5 cars. I'm gonna have a nice life, very nice life, but I'm gonna do it wisely." And there's a lot of them who you guys probably know and heard of them that are doing extremely well. They're very sharp businessmen, and they didn't do that. They didn't get sucked into that whole image thing and have to prove everybody I'm wealthier. And you guys are very mature for your age. I mean, when I was your age, I was doing it the wrong way. That status was important to me. I think the reason I was blessed to wait so long to figure all this out, because I don't know if I could have handled it when I was your age. I don't know if I had the maturity you guys have at your age. I'm just being brutally honest with you, okay? And I'm grateful now because none of that means anything to me anymore. I don't have to deal with it. So
yeah, it's so cool. I think and I mean this in the most respectful way possible. You are like our oldest guest, and you're like giving a lot of knowledge towards it and perspective towards life, honestly, and like the investing side of it. And I had a speaking, I'm 23. I had like a speaking engagement with high schoolers 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And they're 17, 16, I felt old at that point. And that was my main goal, though, was to give them the perspective of what 5 to 6 years down the road can look like if you're disciplined. Yeah. And if you don't go about life fast but misdirected, which is a quote that you had in one of your intro videos, where clear direction beats misdirected speed every time. Yes. So do you want to like, where did you kind of like come up with that, and like what's the thought process?
Here's why, because for 40 years I had misdirected speed. I was making good money, very good money, had a lot of perks that you want to have, but I was just spinning my wheels. I wasn't really building any kind of wealth. I mean, isn't that the reason we all work? We enjoy our jobs, but we also do it for money. I don't think we'd do it if we didn't get paid for it, And so building wealth is a critical piece of it. And I just was spinning my wheels. So what happened was, once I figured this out with this compass out, and I started actually building wealth, creating wealth, stopped the misdirected speed and had clear direction, all of a sudden I accomplished more in 6 years than I did in the previous 40 years in terms of building wealth. And that's why I says, my gosh, people need clear direction. And the thing about the book I wrote is because I wrote it in simple terms for the non-financial person. It's stories. It's full of stories of my failures, my successes, other people's failures, all true stuff. And people relate to that. Most people say, I don't want to read a boring financial book. The 21 books I read, most of them were boring financial books with graphs and charts and terms no one understood, that kind, unless you're on Wall Street. And I said, no, I'm going to do the opposite of that. I've had people say, David, your book is so interesting. It was like a storybook. I want to keep reading it. Even if you didn't have the financial stuff in there, it would have been interesting. And so that's what I wrote it for. Let me just share with you a review. I read all my reviews personally. I just want to share because it makes a point, okay? This is from a clinical psychologist, 25 years experience, no financial background whatsoever. He said he was facing his own career crisis, and the one-page compass gave him the exact financial hope and practical steps he needed. But here's my favorite part. I couldn't put the book down. That's what I was guided for. That's what my intention was. Make it so people want to read it. I get stats from Amazon on the ebooks, how much they're reading. People are reading the books to the end. It's like, that's ridiculous. Most people get an ebook, they read a couple chapters, they go on the next one, because it's just making sense, and it's not boring, and they can use the principles. It's principles they can actually use, not just theory, that kind of thing. So anyways, I think that was important.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, what's cool though is your advice is something that literally everyone can do. And it goes exactly along with the Dave Ramsey. It's very similar, where it's the simple stuff where an average person can work an average job and do it. It's not promising, but buy 10 rental properties and then you'll be able to quit your job. It's like, okay, where do you get the money to buy 10 rentals? Like, it's actually, it's possible.
Yeah, it is. And let me tell you, a lot of the gurus out there, I'm not mentioning names or anything like that, but we all know that there's many of them. There's not one guy or one girl. But anyways, a lot of their advice, though, I found when I was making my compass, see, I questioned everything. Even the people you don't question, you're not supposed to question because they've been doing it forever. I questioned everything, and I did the math on everything, and I was shocked that some of the stuff they're saying is just expensively wrong. Let me give you one example, which I solve on this deal here. I tell you this: once you get out of debt, the next thing you should do is get a 3 to 6 months emergency fund, so you're safe. Now, I agree with that. I agree you should get a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. I really strongly believe that too. But they say then, once you have that 3 to 6 month emergency fund, then start your investing. Okay, but let me just ask you, how long is it going to take the average person to get a 3 to 6 month emergency fund? At least a full year, probably more than that, okay? So basically, they're out of the market for a year when they're in their 20s if they're just starting out. Did the math on that, and that year out of the market, fast forward 40 years to 65, that's going to cost them $500,000, that mistake. What I say is this: yes, start your emergency fund when you get out of debt, but also start your investing at the same time. You just freed up all that debt. You've got cash flow now. Before you increase your lifestyle too quickly, why not do them both at the same time? And now what you're doing is you're building wealth immediately, and you're building an emergency fund immediately. At the same time, you're getting that safety, but you're not staying out of the market for a full year. That's going to be missing 40 years of compounding. That's the kind of stuff that I found out a lot of these gurus have been saying for decades, and no one's questioned it. And it's like, no. I like what you're saying, a lot of things, but this is dangerous. And there's several other things they're saying that are dangerous too, that I expose. I'm not trying to blame anybody or put anybody down, because they all give some good advice, and depending on what you're listening to, but don't just don't even blanketly listen to me. Question everything. Look at the math on the thing.
And what that does, if you start investing before you can afford it, which I'm putting in quotes, it stretches that muscle that you're, especially as a younger person, you now can build that muscle for the rest of your life and understand how that works.
Exactly. I totally agree with it.
Which is super important. I see, maybe people haven't said it to me, and because they don't know the full extent of my situation, but they, like, if I'm buying a house, they're probably like, how in the world? They know I didn't go to school. I've been grinding in real estate, but the amount of stress that there was in that purchase was immense. Yeah. But also, I have been casually building this up. Not through like investing, a little bit with buying Bitcoin and all that sort of stuff, but with lifestyle things as well, where like dropping out of college and stopping playing baseball and doing, like, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations is what stretches the muscle too. So it's not only just the investing side, but it's the lifestyle changes that are also going to help you grow.
Yeah. It is. And growth is important. I have never shared this on a podcast ever, but I was in Costco with my wife last night, and something told me, I keep a journal. I've kept one since I was 25 years old. And something told me to go back in my journal to the year I got fired and started my own business and just look at the entries. And I did, and I says, oh my gosh, this is interesting. Can I just share this with you? It's real quick. It's not long, but it goes
Yeah.
along with what you were just saying, Dylan, a little bit. This is 3 months after I started my company. This is a very dark period. I was working like crazy, making like $200 a month or $500 a month, working harder than I ever made in my life because trying to build this company, get off the ground. And this is the entry I wrote that one day in the journal after 3 months. A thought came to me recently. If I had the ability to press a button and win the $100 million lottery, would I do it? I feel with all sincerity, my answer is no. The reason I say that is that would be the easy way out. I know by struggling to build my company, I am growing in ways I really need. I'm grateful for this opportunity. My failures are helping me gain the strength and wisdom I need to succeed. Now, I know you two just lost all respect for me right now because you crazy, hit that button, get $100 million. But I really feel if I had that $100 million, I wouldn't have struggled. I wouldn't have bothered starting a company. I wouldn't have had to fight my way through that. And I am so stronger today than I've ever been in my life. And it wasn't because I won the lottery, because I didn't. It's because I built something for myself. And I really believe what you're saying, Jake, about, Dylan, excuse me, about that whole struggle thing. I think that's a critical part of the whole process of growing.
I could not agree more. You know all the would you rathers or like the what if games on like Instagram or just in like a group chat with your friends? You're like, would you try to make 100 free throws for like $100 million or like whatever? I used to typically in those fake games choose the more money. And now I'm like, you know what? I just think about it differently. I don't want that much money. I don't want to be given that much money. I want $1 million, but I don't want $100 million.
Yeah.
Right. Because of what you said, I want to go through the obstacles. That's part of, that's why I wake up in the morning. I own businesses. I work, I challenge myself, and I love it.
Yeah. And I'm sure you guys have heard this before. It's nothing new. It's all over social media. People who win the lottery, some of them do good, but some of them are broke in 5 years. Okay. And here's my theory on that. What an instant influx of wealth does to you, whether it's inheritance or lottery or whatever it is, where you didn't earn it, you just got it. All it does, it magnifies the person you really are. If you have an undisciplined life with money the whole time, you're going to, no matter how, no, I'm going to really, but this, I'm not going to blow this money. 5 years, you're out of money. But if you've had discipline with money, you've had a system for, I know people won the lottery. I've read of people who won the lottery. They didn't go broke after that. They actually used that money wisely. And because why? They were doing that before. The people who weren't doing that before, it just magnifies it. It exposes who you really are, I think, when you get a quick influx of money. It doesn't help you really at all, I don't think.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. And it's also because the person that you're becoming to make that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's this quote from Jim Rowe who says, I don't know exactly. Actually, I shouldn't have said a quote, but he said
at least.
He said along the lines. He said it's not about the money that you're making; it's about the person you're becoming.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
He's like, if you become a millionaire and you take it away. He was like, it's not like everyone knows the saying, the first million is the hardest to make. He was talking about that, and he was like, it's not because you can now compound. Of course, yes, that's it makes it easier, but it's because you made it and you learned how to do it, and you now have that self-confidence to go out and do it again.
That's right.
And so that's it.
And that's why I felt I need to document my system because of how I did it. Because one, I didn't want to forget it. I literally, this is crazy. You're going to think it's crazy. Every week I have my calendar at 4:00 on Friday. I have a 2-minute meeting with myself. I take out my one-page compass and I just review it, where I'm at, where I'm going. If am I safe on my North Star principles? Give you a good example. Once I had my 2-minute meeting with myself, and basically I realized the week before I'd made an impulse purchase, okay? And I looked at my thing, I said, yeah, I didn't do what I was supposed to. The rule is an impulse purchase with me is wait 24 hours before you buy it. Because after 24 hours, half the time you go, I don't really need that one. But I was just kind of, But the point is, the 2-minute meeting once a week, it caught me. So it wasn't $100,000 mistake. It was a couple $100 mistake or whatever it was, okay? And that's what the deal is. Have you ever read a good book and you said, boy, that's a great principle. It's going to change my life. 2 years from now, you come across the brain, oh yeah, I meant to use that. But when you have a 2-minute meeting every week with yourself for this company, and you're still on the same step and you're not budging, you decide to, hey, I think I got to do something here, because it's kind of a behavioral modification. You got to change or you're not going to change. And it kind of is just a wake up every week for me for 2 minutes. And so I really encourage that.
Totally.
So David, One Page Wealth Compass is the name of your book. I see it has 28 reviews on Amazon, 4.7